Welcome to Final Fantasy Weekly. I'm Drew Kreisman.
And I'm Ira Kreisman.
And on this episode, we continue our conversation on Final Fantasy VIII. When last we left our heroes, they were making a dramatic landing at the town or city, I suppose, of Dollet, we've decided to pronounce it. And remembering that this is their final examination for graduation to become official full seed members of this weird school of child soldier military academy. And this is a live battle. So, yeah, the graduation, I guess the pre-graduation ceremony, the final exams, as it were, a real war zone at this town. We're here to fight the Galbadian troops. We just experienced really awesome CGI cutscene that seamlessly transitions us into the gameplay footage, and Quistis starts shouting out orders, remembers everyone to be sure to equip your Guardian Force before heading into battle, reminds you one last time of the mission to remove the G Army forces from the city and move out, and the hype is high and the music keeps going, and hoorah, Ira.
Hoorah. What do you think of, every once in a while in the text it will have brackets around a phrase it really wants you to remember, and in this case it's secure the brackets central square, that's some bright color, usually yellow or blue, I think.
Right.
Did that end up meaning anything? Other than trying to highlight what it is you're supposed to do, but sometimes it's in different colors and I don't know why. And it's not really like you can mess this up.
Yeah, I think later on it would be a little more helpful for clarity of okay, that's definitely what I'm supposed to do next. But yeah, at the start here, it's maybe even more confusing than anything else. So Cypher, again, remember our kind of overamped bully character who for some reason has been put in charge of this mission despite the fact that he's failed this examination several times already. Starts barking out orders and telling the troops to move out, and starts just shouting nonsense like, come out and show your faces, and just like a little bloodlust or something. Are we complete opposite of Squall, right, where he doesn't enjoy anything? Cypher is enjoying this maybe a little too much.
He really enjoys combat. I don't think he cares if he ever graduates and becomes a seed. I think what he wants is the combat, and I would think becoming a seed would give him that, but he doesn't really care for the responsibility, right? It's not like he's fighting on behalf of whatever the philosophy of seed is. He would fight for anybody.
Right. And that's really made clear in what happens next, because I remember first time playing this game when you're still getting used to the mechanics and learning everything. This was a super long sequence that felt really intense, and these battles were kind of tough, and you're learning a new system. Now that I know how to play the game, and or if we're playing it for story purposes and have the cheats on or whatever, it's kind of funny how you basically just run around 2 or 3 screens, kill a couple of soldiers, and, good job. Now we're on standby.
Right. Yep. I also do like that we get a bit of a fake out here in that Cypher joins the party, right? You can see all his stats. You can equip him with Guardian Forces.
Right.
For a bit here, he's a controllable character, and that's
he's got
really
a limit break and everything, yeah.
Yeah. So they had to program Cypher as a party member, at least for a little bit.
Right.
It seems like a lot of extra work. And then that's not what happens.
Right. But it is a pretty cool fake out, wondering if he was ever going to be able to, I guess some spoilers or whatever, but come back our way. And then he's immediately frustrated by the lack of combat. To your point, standby, he says. How boring. We're just supposed to wait here and secure the square? Yeah, dude, that was literally the mission the entire time. Clear the troops out, secure the square. But that now means waiting. We talked about the military and the hurry up and wait thing last time, and that kind of adrenaline rush. And then all of a sudden it's now we're just supposed to stand here? It can be a shock to the system, especially to these young minds who are not well adjusted.
Right, and the game will make you hang around for a while. There's not a lot to do here. There is a doggy. There's a little stray dog here that you can, I guess you can kind of pet it. That's become a meme. Can you pet the dog?
Right.
Every video game now, you got to be able to save the cat and pet the dog.
Right.
and you can't, like, Squall doesn't look like he's petting it, but it does sort of whine at you, and you give it some attention. It will, like, go up to Cypher, though, and he'll ignore it, and then he'll, like, take a swing at it.
Yeah. Any thought that I might have had that this was a redeemable person went out the window right there. Anyone who's mean to dogs, that's just a dead giveaway.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Cypher does a little more, shouting at the skies and at the moon. Come get us! What are you waiting for? And Squall and Zell are just sitting there like, man, this guy's, what a clown. But then there's a bit of a rumbling at an overlook where we see a big tower. And the dog starts barking, which I guess gives Cypher the feeling that that's where we're going next. And he gives the order to Squall and Zell. That's where we're going. We got to go up there and check that out. They're like, wait, what? Our orders are to stay here. But then Cypher says, I'm the captain now.
Right.
Right? And then Squall does the very soldierly thing and says, as much as they're both kind of protesting at first, he's like, Zell, he's right. He is in charge, and our job here, and he's very much a student taking a test in this moment. He's like, I'm supposed to follow the orders of the captain. I'm not going to fail this test. Like, even if the orders are dumb, I'm going to do it, which is not a good mentality to have.
No. But it is also a little bit, Cypher's doing it because he wants the action, right? I said he would fight for anybody. I'm not quite sure that's true. I think he would fight for anybody who put him in the middle of the action. And right now, Seed's not really doing that, so he's taking it upon himself. And I also don't think that he sees this as the correct strategic move. He just sees this as, that's where the enemy is. I want to fight the enemy.
Right.
So it's all about what he wants. And even though this is going to turn out to be a really important point, that's not why he did it.
Right. And Cypher kind of pokes at Squall, saying, don't you have that same drive? You want to fight too. Come on. You want to wreak a little bit of havoc. And Squall has an interesting response. He says, it's a good opportunity to test out my training. So he doesn't deny it. And then has a little throwback to the opening of the game, saying, thanks to you, I feel like I can take on anyone, even if they fight dirty like you. And Cypher basically says, yeah, you'll thank me when the time comes. Like, takes credit for teaching him that lesson, which Squall basically said, I'm already giving you credit, dude. Okay, you taught me a lesson that day. And then Zell breaks in with, what is this? What is this love fest? I thought the two of you hated each other. What's going on here?
Yeah. You see these fresh scars on each other's faces? You did this just this morning. This was hours ago.
Right. Boys.
The fact that they're already healed scars is interesting, too. I assume that's just a convenience. But it could speak to, like, the really good medical capabilities of Dr. Katawaki.
I was going to say, how dare you doubt Dr. Katawaki's skills? And whatever weird alien magic medicine they have on this super wonky planet that we're on. So Zell gives one last protest, and Cypher tells him just to stay here then. Says, I don't need any Boy Scouts, which, of course, just riles up Zell. He's so bullyable. Which is
easy to provoke.
Yeah, very easy to provoke. Even though he's right, it's tough to... You just want to tell Zell, like, calm down a little bit. But, again, none of these people are well-adjusted, so... So off they go toward the tower.
On the way up the mountain to the communication tower, we run into some Dollet soldiers. I think I called these guys the minor leagues last time.
Right.
And yeah, they can't handle even the monsters in their own backyard, right? They talk about, oh, nobody uses the communication tower anymore. Monsters are all around. Then, oh no, help me, because a monster shows up. So Cypher and them fight off the monsters. I really like that Cypher gives a lesson now. Listen up. The finishing blow determines the experience. Save it for me.
Another tutorial.
Yeah. Which means I made sure Cypher got none of the last blows.
Exactly, right? That's a great way to do the exact opposite of what you're told and still be learning the video game properly. That's clever.
Right. Yeah. That one's pretty slick. And it's not like the only one to get experience is the one who gave the last blow. It's not like Shining Force.
Right. Goodness, right?
Which was exhausting to level up your healers. But yeah, they do get a bit of a bump.
So you fight your way through enemy soldiers and a couple of monsters and get a little bit more, overhearing from them. Oh, the generator is up and running. No problem with the boosters. A little bit of leading to what we're about to get to. So during all of the fighting, Squall and Cypher continue to have a bit of their back and forth, and at one point, Cypher says, "The way I look at it, as long as you make it out of a battle alive, you're one step closer to fulfilling your dream." And Squall's like, what? On Earth, I feel like this is his response to everything. He doesn't get anybody. He just does not understand the way other people function. He's just like, what are you talking about? Your dream? And Cypher says, "You have one too, don't you?" And Squall goes, I'm a pass. Hard pass on that one. And Zell wants to begin the conversation, and they says, "Nah, man, no, I'm not talking to you." So brutal.
I think that's interesting because, like, just from a storytelling perspective, what is everybody's motivation? Well, apparently Cypher's got a motivation of being able to fight. He loves battles. Squall maybe doesn't have a motivation or doesn't know what his own motivation is.
Right.
Zell, we will learn, just really wants those hot dogs.
And he really wants to be included, right?
Right.
I think that's a big thing. And so the fact that he keeps
I think that's right.
getting excluded is really frustrating. And I know how that feels. I have that same thing. But once you get to the communications tower, there's a little bit of a lull in the action, and you're kind of doing that thing where you duck behind a rock. You're spying on the bad guys doing their preparations and going in and out of the important building or whatever. And this is where we are very clumsily, literally, introduced, or rather reintroduced, as you pointed out last episode, to Selfie. She comes tumbling down the hill behind us. She goes with a goofy little wave, her little haircut that goes out both ways, and just, "Hey guys," and then she slips and tumbles down the mountainside.
Yeah. Do we want to pause here for a brief character study? I don't think we've done one on Zell either. You want to do Selfie and Zell real quick?
Yeah.
All right, so let's start with Zell since he was introduced earlier. He is, like you said, he wants to be included. He is enthusiastic. I think we could, if we were trying to be degrading, we could call him a tryhard, right? Like he's always shadowboxing, like you said. I compared him to Zach in that he's always moving, and he hates being insulted. He's one of those guys who, I remember these guys in middle school and high school, you said anything rude about them, and they thought that meant that they had to defend themselves by punching you. Like,
right.
Gee whiz, any criticism is met with a fist. But I also think that he's a really good dude in that, again, he just wants to be part of the group and he wants to do well.
Yeah.
Selfie, what do you think of Selfie? Like you said, she's kind of a small, slight girl. She uses nunchucks as her weapon. She's very much the cute, bubbly personality, I think.
Yeah.
And my guess is the internet does not like her.
Yeah, she's one of those characters who tends to be disliked by a lot of people in that same vein. Now, she's older than a lot of the other young girl characters that can grind on people's nerves, like Aiko from the next game. Although Riku has this a little bit with some folks as well, and she's about in that same... All these characters are 17, by the way, except for Quistis, who's 18, very much the elder of the group.
Good Lord.
And... So, yeah, I will say that for me, and we'll test this as we go through, but Selfie is one of those characters that I feel like failed to do too much to stand out. Other than one or two moments, she doesn't get to do a lot, and so you're right, she's just kind of bubbly and happy and has a couple of things, but really doesn't get a ton of development, at least in my recollection. But maybe we'll go find a bit more on this playthrough.
Yeah, I really feel like it's Squall, Quistis, and Rinoa who get the lion's share of the development.
Yeah.
And the other three not near as much.
Yeah.
I think Cypher gets more development than Zell and Selfie and eventually Irvin.
Agreed.
But they all get some moments.
Yeah. So Selfie introduces herself, says she got lost, that You remember you showed me around. My name's Selfie. I'm looking for the squad captain. That's Cypher. Where's he? I've got a note for him. She just runs over to Cypher and hands him the note. She's being very official. Again, these guys are all taking a test. It's funny. It's so weird. It's such an interesting dynamic at play here.
So she doesn't actually give him the note here. He runs off. He's going off into the tower before she can give him the note. So we'll get there. She's trying real hard to give him that note. But he runs off. Yeah. And he's no longer in the group anymore.
Right. Because she has to join.
Right. And he was never going to be part of the group anyway.
Right.
He doesn't want to be part of the group. He's anti-Zell in that way.
Right. So there are a few other little dungeon crawly things you can do and getting to know Selfie a little bit better through some back and forth with her and Zell. But the long and short of it is you get to the communications tower. They all kind of stand in awe at the enormity of it. And it is enormous. It's uncomfortably huge. And here, Ira, we get Final Fantasy VIII's version of Biggs and Wedge. Hooray! Always nice to see them. Even when they're weird, mostly incompetent bad guys.
Right. Well, they're back to being Imperial stooges, right? In 6, that's what they were. In 7, they were freedom fighters, and now they're back to being soldiers for the Empire.
Right.
Or what amounts to the Empire.
Well, yeah, sure, right. And so they're working atop the tower and having an exposition conversation.
Right, exactly.
Beginning with, there's been reports of a monster-shaped shadow on top of the tower. I wonder if that means that there's a monster we're going to have to fight. So after a little bit of comedic back and forth of, I can't get this repairs, hand me that wrench. No, not that wrench, that kind of thing. Eventually they fixed whatever they were working on, and we get another one of these really intense and wild kind of seamless transitions into a cutscene where the communications tower that was already huge opens up in the middle of it, like cylindrically, straight up and down. And a shaft, if I may, shoots out of the top of it and opens into this enormous satellite dish looking thing with like a pokey, shiny poker thingy. It's
right, yeah.
It's wild, man. Yeah, that's what I said. Oh man, it's so wild. At this point, you, as the group of Squall, Zell, and Selfie, reach the top of the tower. You face off against Biggs and Wedge, and before you can even defeat them, they are blown off the top of the tower by the monster, who you then have to fight. And don't forget to draw Siren.
Right, exactly.
After defeating the monster called Ulvaret? Sure.
Bird thingy.
Right. Selfie finally is able to give the message to Cypher, and that message is to withdraw. Remember that the order to withdraw takes precedence over anything and everything else. Cypher says, withdraw, there are still enemies around. Selfie says, I know, my job was to bring you the message, dude.
The message has been brought. Do with it what you will. And for all that Cypher's a bully and a thug, at least he knows what he wants. Right? Everyone else is just doing exactly what they're told. He knows what he wants.
Right.
And is not just a good little toy soldier, I guess.
Right. And I love the mirror image of Final Fantasy VII here, where at the beginning of that game, we got a timed, you've got to get out of here mission when we're blowing up the reactor. And then we get the same thing here. We've got 30 minutes to basically retrace our steps or go backwards to the shore, get to the ships, and it's 30 minutes in real time, and you've got to do it while fighting enemies along the way and being chased by this incredible. So Biggs and Wedge release, right, in their dying breaths, I guess, or maybe they're just knocked out. I choose to believe they live on forever.
Yeah, we'll actually see them again later.
Oh, that's right. So, but as he's passing out, he pulls the lever and it releases the giant mechanical spider robot, Death.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Which this whole sequence is amazing. It just keeps chasing you, and you can never really defeat it. You just have to attack it long enough that it kind of falls back a little bit, and then you can run away. This sequence is so great.
It's cool. This is also where the game teaches you how to run away, right? So
Right.
tutorial in combat.
Right.
Yeah, so you run, back down the hill and it chases you down. You got to fight it again, and then you run across that big bridge again, and it chases you again and like jumps over you, and then through the city. We didn't talk much about the old style cars. We talked about the military, the seed vehicles being these weird sort of Lego bricky, almost
Right.
alien dune buggy things. But there are some neat looking old cars in town. One of
Yeah.
which gets destroyed by
I was
this
gonna
spider thing.
say, it steps right on like an old VW bug looking thing. Like, yeah.
And it's all narrow cobble streets. It reminds me on the few times I've been to some cities in Europe, when you find some of those side streets, none of which are straight.
Right.
They're all crookedy and cobbled and narrow, and these stone buildings and such. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. And it's really creepy to see this mechanical spider like crawling up the walls sideways and like jumping around off of things. And it's got very much Jaws horror movie vibe of you can't get away from the monster. It's bigger, faster, stronger than you. What are you going to do? All you can do is run. It's destroying
Right.
everything in its path. It's pretty intense. And then the end of it is just
Yes.
the best. It's so epic and awesome. So as the team is scrambling and sprinting out toward the beach at the last minute, you see them running out there, heading toward the ship, the giant robot spider fresh on their heels. Of course, Squall is the last one on. He's making sure everyone gets out in front of him. They're all jumping onto the ship, and he's the last one to go. And as he starts jumping forward, you think maybe the spider's going to catch him, and then all of a sudden you just hear...
Yeah. Now, remember, you and I played this mission on the demo disc 100 gazillion times before we
Right.
ever played it in the game.
Right.
Right, and this was the end of the demo disc. You land on you get the intro movie. You land on the beach. You go up to the tower. You come back from the tower,
Yeah.
and then you make it to the ship. And there's this like faceless seed soldier dude running the gun on top of the boat to make sure that Squall gets aboard. And it's super cool. And he gets on board just in time, and it's great.
Yeah.
However,
Yeah.
it was so frickin' thrilling that the person running the gun on the ship is not some faceless seed person, but rather Instructor Trep coming in clutch at the last moment to save your bacon and run the gun. And I was so excited when it was her instead of the nameless dude.
Yeah.
I loved that so much.
It's great. She just looks awesome, just wasting that thing. Oh, Quistis is such a badass. I love her. So that's kind of a big fade out scene, and really the end of what I would say is the opening act of not a 3-act play, that would be far too short. Just the opening introduction to the world of Final Fantasy VIII, right? That is chapter 1, as it were. So we open up back in Balam, and Cypher is greeted there by his lackeys.
Yeah, what do you think of these two?
We'll have to talk more about that as we get more of them, but as I often do about any well-executed lackey, I can at the very least appreciate their loyalty to their friend.
Right.
Kind of reminds me of, and tell me what you think of this poll, in Boy Meets World. Remember the bully character? There were like 2 different ones. It was Harvey and Griff, I believe. But the 2 side characters, the lackeys, were all the same guy, Joey and the big guy.
Vader's son.
Yeah, right. Who, in canon was Vader's kid. The professional wrestler, not Darth Vader. In case anyone has no idea what we're talking about. But yeah, Raijin and Fujin have an interesting dynamic. And we get it right here at the beginning, right? Because Raijin says, who is the male character, big beefy dude, says, "Cypher, how'd it go?" And Cypher gives some like throwaway answer. These guys just got my way. Being a leader isn't easy, you know. And then Fujin, who is a slight light-haired woman, says, "Safe?" And Fujin only speaks in one word, all caps sentences.
wild.
Yeah. It's an interesting dynamic, and we'll have to peel that onion more and more as we go. So Quistis tells everyone good job, says, be back by sundown. Until then, you are dismissed.
The only thing I want to make sure we mention while we're here in the town of Balam is that this is where Zell's mom lives.
Yeah.
And you can go into her place and, she'll greet Zell. Oh, good. How you doing? Are you off today? No, I've just got a field trip. Be safe. It's sweet. It's not real poignant or anything, but it's nice.
It's nice that Zell is one of the very few Final Fantasy characters who has an alive mom.
That is a fair point, yes.
Final Fantasy characters and Disney characters, a lot of dead parents.
Yeah.
So it's just nice that she's there. And very much like Chrono's mom. She's just pleasant and she's there. So you can check out the town a little bit if you like, but then it's back to the garden to meet up with Zhu and say mission complete and candidates are back safely. And I'm glad that she at least mentions that because I feel like they've been very cavalier and casual with the live bullet nature of what just happened.
Exactly. And not at all worried about like the soldiers of Dollet, really.
Sure.
Or that, in order to complete this exam, you may have to kill members of the Galbadian army.
Right. So we do get an update then from the headmaster. Sid says that we have received word from Dollet, the dukedom, he calls it. The Galbadian army has agreed to withdraw as long as the communication tower is repaired and the uplink remains operational. So clearly whatever they were doing there, it was just about that communications tower. They got what they wanted, so they're going to pull their army out, to which Zhu has a very odd response. But again, it makes sense for the world they're living in. But for you and me, it's just so crass. He goes, well, if they would have stayed in, we could have made more money because they would have been causing more of a ruckus and they would have needed to contract us out again. So for her, the peace is bad news.
Yeah.
Weird.
I thought about that too, about the peculiarity of wanting there to continue to be conflict between people so that we could make more money. The other thing that is strange to me is why wouldn't the communication tower be working anyway? And why does the Galbadian army care so much that it remains up and running? Like, do they not have their own satellite dishes? What's going on? And if all they wanted was a satellite dish, then why did they have to send their army in to fight the Dollet dukedom's army to get that running? So the reason I put that all in questions is that becomes one of the big themes of the story.
Right. Those are all the questions you're supposed to be asking, yeah.
Who owns the means of communication? Who controls it? How do you get information out there? That is one of the points of the story that I feel like I kind of missed the first time I was playing this because it's just a frickin' radio tower. We got those all over the place.
Right. But yeah, there's it's sort of like I've heard people talk about, the old idea of war where you conquer another country and take their land. Like that's entirely a thing of the past. Now war is culture-based and information-based. And how much of your television, music, and film, books, whatever, literature, are other cultures consuming? That's actually something that you can do in those Civilization video games is basically win other people's territory because they just decide your culture is better and more interesting. And I feel like that's a little bit of what Galbadia is doing here, saying we don't need to conquer your land anymore. We don't need to defeat your armies. What we need to do is make sure that everyone agrees with our ideology. Then we've won. It's information warfare or cyber warfare as opposed to marching army warfare.
Another way to say that might be you win the hearts and minds, right?
Right.
You convince them that your way is the better way, which is not what Seed is after.
Right. Yeah, as you were talking about that cycle of needing war to make money and them therefore having an incentive to keep the conflict going, it made me think about our healthcare system and the way we very much incentivize people needing to go to the doctor and needing to, if there was more money in curing people, more people would be cured. But there's money in selling them medicine, not necessarily in curing them or of giving them sustainable treatment. And so it's a similar situation here where when you make something all about the capital of it, right, the capitalism of it, when it's only about the profit drive, then things like who gets sick or who dies in war come second. That's a dystopia.
God, that's grim. Oh, jeez.
And then Zhu starts ripping into Cypher for all the stuff that he did, not following orders, going off task, leaving the designated area, all of that. And Cypher tries to say that it was the captain's duty to take the best possible action, and then she does not hold back. She says, "You'll never be a seed. You calling yourself captain is a joke." Yeesh.
Yeah.
And Headmaster Sid does say that Cypher will be disciplined for what he did because you have to follow orders, but does mention again back to our conversation about Teenage with Attitude from the Power Rangers, about how he doesn't want them all to just become machines. Right? It's like, well, I don't know that you're doing enough to stop that, Sid.
Mm-hmm. Well, and we're about to get a bit of a hint as to the reason why.
Yeah. Because I'm one of those creepy dudes.
They wear these robes. They're like red and white robes and the big yellow hat that's tilted way down so you can't see their face.
Yeah, it's
weird.
Epically bizarre. And he walks over and tells the headmaster that he has business in his office. Hurries him away, and just like, well, that was weird. Then someone comes over the intercom at school, which I love that little touch. And actually will become a really fun and important thing later. And says that everyone who participated in today's field exam must report to the second floor hallway.
In brackets, in like bright blue or yellow or something.
So you know to go there. But yeah, you're just like, well, where else? Yeah. At this point, the 4 students who passed the exam are called into Headmaster Sid's office and given a hearty congratulations.
Yeah, and Cypher's not one of them.
No, he's not.
It's Zell, Selfie, Squall, and a 4th guy.
A 4th
whose
guy.
name we don't know.
No, you gotta adds a little realism to the world. It's just,
right.
Couldn't only be our heroes who graduated. He was across town, actually doing his job.
We are actually going to get his name later.
Yeah.
But not right this moment.
So Sid, is doing the flowery language. Now you are Seed, and you should be proud. And we are the great soldiers and combat specialists. But that is only one aspect of Seed, he says. When the time comes, and then he's interrupted again by these weird guys. What happens when the time comes? Master Sid, Headmaster Sid. It is time for the meeting to end. We must, please make this short. And then this dude just sort of turns and finishes the speech for Sid and says, "Look, our reputation is solely dependent on each one of you. Handle your missions with care." Is that what you wanted to say, sir? Here's your Seed rank report. Oh, all right.
Yeah, and it bothered me at the time that Headmaster Sid would allow this dude to just interrupt and like push him back like that. I was like, hang on, no.
Yeah. So then Sid goes and he hands, I suppose, the graduation or the diploma, the thingamabob that you get when you've graduated to each one of the 4 individuals. And he says something kind of under his breath to each one, just for them. And I love this foreshadowing that he tells Selfie that he's looking forward to the garden festival, clearly knowing something that we don't, which is that she's very much into that and planning festivals. And so like that's nice. And then he speaks to the person we have not yet met, and I love this. He says, "Do your best, even if you don't stand out." Just because you're not a playable party member doesn't mean you're not important too. Love it. He tells Zell, "Try to control your emotions a little." And then he just kind of fawns over Squall.
Right. This is interesting.
A gunblade specialist.
All of them wield peculiar weapons. They all wield like main hero weapons. None of them wields just like a pistol or we're going to meet a character here in a bit who wields just like an assault rifle, right? A machine gun kind of thing. That makes sense for a soldier. But Quistis has a whip. Squall and Cypher both wield gun blades. Selphie's got her nunchaku. Zell is a martial artist. All of these are, again, main character methods of fighting, like theatrical ways of fighting. So the fact that he really interested in like the most anime weapon I have ever seen in my entire life, I don't know that it means anything, but it's interesting to me.
So they walk back out into the hallway, and there is Cypher giving the sarcastic slow clap.
Right. But his lackeys join in, right?
Yeah.
And then everybody else who didn't pass joins in. So there is, like, I think some legitimate applause. I don't think Cypher gives a damn, but I think the others like, all right, yeah, well done, Seeds.
Right. And then I love this, Ira. This is one of those things that, like, I never needed it to be more realistic or more grounded or whatever, but it also doesn't really make sense in Final Fantasy games or games in general that monsters running around in the wild are dropping money.
Yeah.
And more often than not, that's how you get your money. It's like, what was the feral wolf on his way to the bank? Like, you know, what's going on there? So I love that instead of doing that in this game, you just get paid regularly because you're a mercenary. And so at semi-regular intervals, you'll just get paid. And it maybe is less satisfying than feeling like you've earned it through the course of battle, but ultimately it's the same thing. And in-world, I love that it just makes a ton more sense.
Isn't there a bit in Scott Pilgrim when he beats somebody up?
And they burst into money, yeah.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Fair enough.
And then you change into your fancy uniforms. Like they're dress whites, except they're black, so they're dress blacks.
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
So you can kind of look around the school a little bit if you want, but there's not much else to do. And so it's time to go to the inauguration ball.
Yeah, this is...
A ball sounds like exactly what Squall wants to do.
Oh, yeah, no, he hates this, and I would hate it too. But I think it's really interesting that... Yeah, I imagine when the garden in your district, in your area, has a big old inauguration party, you invite everybody, right? It's not like just the students are there. All the surrounding dignitaries get invited. I should think.
And so this may be the most famous part of this game. If not its intro, it's this. And this is just really well done. Like the music comes in very subtly in the background. They leitmotif the heck out of that melody as well they should. But it is the melody but in waltz form for Eyes on Me.
So is this like when you get a really big pop song that's been around for 20 years, and then it gets an orchestral version,
right?
And it gets like a karaoke version, and it gets a dance revolution version?
Exactly. And so Squall is being the classic loner, I don't want to be here, standoffish guy. He's got his glass of champagne. He's standing in the corner.
This is me, man.
Yeah, totally.
I don't go out to parties very often, and if it's a big thing like this, unless I am specifically expected to be interacting with people, I am off by the side. I'm looking at the paintings, I'm finding the cat that lives there.
Yeah, always find the animal, always.
We were at the retirement party of one of Kelly's coworkers, and I did the thing. I was social for a while, but I sort of walked around back at one point and sat on the deck. And the neighbor's cat found me. It wasn't even the cat of the person who lived there.
Fantastic.
And so I'm petting the cat.
Just as well.
Oh, man. And it's not like I'm trying to be an ass or not interact with people. It's just I can only do so much before I would prefer to be by myself for a while. And then I can go back and there's some back and forth. But I totally get Squall here.
So Zell comes over and tries to be happy and excited about it, and he's in a congratulatory mood for both of them. And, we're both seeds now. Isn't that awesome? And he holds out his hand again. I can't remember if we mentioned last time that Squall refused to shake his hand when they first met. And he does that again here. He just... Yeah. You can put that away, buddy. You at least would shake the hand.
I would shake the hand, absolutely. But I kind of get the impression that Squall doesn't like touching people either.
Right. I think you're absolutely right about that.
Yeah.
So Zell just says, well, fair enough, typical of you. I guess you're still the same. See you around. You know, he's fine.
Yeah, he's got no problem finding the extra glass of champagne and being out on the dance floor and whatnot.
Right. So Selphie runs over at that point and tries to get Zell to join the garden festival committee, and Zell's like, oh, I just remembered something, I gotta go, see ya. Gets himself out of the conversation. And then Selphie goes, hey Squall, do you want to join the garden festival committee? You can help out whenever you want, and then you can choose. I guess so, which seems very out of character for Squall.
Right. Can you imagine he helps put together this festival and then doesn't show up?
Right. Oh, man.
Hey, man, I did my part. I helped Selphie put this thing together. You think I'm going to show up also? No.
Right. Regardless of whatever you say, Selphie walks off and excited either way. And then we get, like we have with Zell when he was doing his shadow boxing, or Selphie when she fell down the hill, we get an FMV character introduction, though. We saw this character all throughout the intro. We even saw a little bit of this moment, this very short moment that kind of lives forever.
Yeah. This is...
So, like all of them, this is maybe 5, 6, 8 seconds, maybe it will say.
Sure.
And we see... Now, we know it's Rinoa if we've played the game before, and we've talked about her in the opening cutscene. But if you don't, you just see a girl in like a shimmering, light, kind of gold silverish dress. And she's walking across the dance floor, and then she looks over. Clearly, like right into the camera, but it's clearly, we interpret through all the directing going on here, that she's looking right at Squall. And then she holds up her right index finger, as if to say, hold on a second. And then she gives a smile, and she walks straight at him.
Yeah. Why? Why him?
Well, that's a conversation for another time and maybe the entire rest of the game. But as far as the... It's just such an arresting image. It's so almost kind of unnerving, especially if you've got that like standoffishness. Like, oh man, is she walking right at me? What the, it's like, this is intense, and this is something that we'll see again and come back to actually a lot. But she walks over, and now we're out of FMV CGI cutscene and just regular game graphics, and this has become a meme too, because
yeah, it has.
The first thing she says to Squall is, "You're the best looking guy here." And in the old game, his face was just a blur of almost unrecognizable pixels. Now it makes sense, he's a cutie, but in the old screenshot, it's just hilarious. It's implied. And then she says, "Dance with me." And she says, "Oh, let me guess. You're one of those people who will only dance with somebody that you like." "Okay, well then look into my eyes. You're going to like me. You're going to like me." Did it work?
She had a whole conversation without him.
Right. All by herself. Bringing a positive energy, but very different from Zell's, right? Calmer, but still pushing at him. And in a way that she elicits a response, and all Squall says is, "I can't dance." And she says, "You'll be fine. Come on, I'm looking for someone. I can't be on the dance floor alone," which is weird. Something we'll get back to. Again, there's a lot of crumbs being left on for us to get back to later. And then this beautiful, beautiful cutscene. One of the best cutscenes in the history of Final Fantasy. She quite literally drags him out into the middle of the dance floor, and he's stumbling around, and she has to like put his arm on her waist and like hold his other arm up. It's like she's like dragging a child around. Beautiful dance floor, and the view of the stars up above, and she's trying to get him to step into the waltz, and he's very awkward and tripping on his feet, and at one point they bump into some people, and she kind of gives them a dirty look like they messed up.
Doesn't she stick her tongue out at them?
Something like that.
It's really adorable.
It's
fantastic.
Great. But then, as Squall is realizing that he's maybe making a little bit of a fool of himself, and he can't stand for that, he really locks it in. He locks it in. And you've talked about this before with these Final Fantasy heroes who can be very impressionistic, which is to say that things impress upon them, not that they're impressionist painters or anything. But
They could be paintings. I don't know.
They could be paintings. We'll learn more and more about how fast of a learner Squall is and how important that is to his character. But we see it here in action where he seems to take stock of the room, figure out the steps. It's almost like he breaks the dance down as though it's a mathematical equation or a military mission. And now that he understands what's happening, he's going to execute it to perfection. And then he does. He gets in lockstep, and the two of them dance the waltz, and they dance around each other. I mentioned before there are people who do this dance at their weddings and stuff. It's just really beautiful and gorgeous. And they have that moment where, after kind of spinning out, they come back together and their hands join up. And of course, the fireworks go up behind them as they're framed in the middle of the shot. It's starting to feel very romantic as she's looking at him. And then all of a sudden, she looks very distracted, and she's looking past him.
Mm-hmm.
And then she just lets go and walks off and leaves him there with the most befuddled look on his face.
Yeah. This is why we stand by ourselves. Because we don't want to be left in the middle of the dance floor going, wait, what? All right.
What just happened to me? That's it for this episode. Thank you for listening. As always, feel free to let us know what we missed, got wrong, or should have mentioned by finding us on Twitter @FFWeeklyPod, or of course, as always, you can hit us up right here on the Patreon page or on Discord. Please remember to subscribe to the Everything is Final Fantasy YouTube channel and check out DC Productions on Patreon if you're interested in conversations about Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Power Rangers, and all other kinds of fun and nerdy stuff that also features my brother Ira. Be sure to join us next time as we continue our conversation on Final Fantasy VIII.
God, yeah. Gao's mom, Realm's mom.
I'm saying.
Jesus Christ.
All the moms
I guess
are
Elmira's around. Elmira's good.
Elmira?
Isn't that Aerith's?
Oh, sure. Aerith's adopted mother, because,
Right.
her mom died.
Yeah, because Elfana's dead. But Elmira's around. Elmira's great.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think, are there any other moms that I need to draw attention to? Because, God, what a bummer.
I mean, Cloud's mom is alive in flashbacks, but then she's dead.
Yeah.
So we meet Cloud's mom. That's one of the few that we actually...
Tifa's mom dies.
Yeah.
Jiminy Christmas.
Yeah. Tough.
Marlene's.
It's a tough series on moms.
God.
It's
Noctis.
the very first thing that happens to Hope.
Oh, God, yeah.
All right.